The latest charges against Lil Durk are now being stacked onto his existing prison sentence, and the evidence fueling them has already set social media ablaze. According to federal documents, the case traces back to a leaked group chat that allegedly exposes who's been cooperating with authorities. Prosecutors claim Durk orchestrated retaliatory moves against O Block members after King Von's death, accusing him of ordering hits on those who, in his eyes, failed to avenge Von properly. A key witness is reportedly prepared to testify that Durk personally gave those commands, a revelation that could shift the entire direction of his case. Within the evidence files, investigators cite Durk's feud with Monduke as central to the motive, describing deep fractures within his own circle. And now, industry figure WAC 100 has publicly confirmed what many suspected. Insiders from Durk's own camp are turning against him, feeding the feds the very information that could seal his fate. The latest development in Lil Durk's case has raised serious concerns, as federal investigators now allege he played a role in the 2021 attempt on Quando Rondo's life. According to newly surfaced court documents, surveillance footage and witness statements from the Georgia incident have been submitted as evidence. One passage even references Durk's lyrics. "They're on my page like Slide for Von. I know they're trolling me." And prosecutors are arguing that the song's release, which came shortly after the death of Lil Pab, was more than coincidental. Meanwhile, authorities are reportedly pressuring Durk's close associate, D, to cooperate. Known as one of Durk's most loyal enforcers, D has publicly distanced himself from the case, insisting that none of the evidence ties him to Durk's alleged actions. His move to have his case separated could actually benefit Durk, as D has firmly denied any claim that he was ever instructed to carry out violence on Durk's behalf. But while D stays loyal, his younger brother Ted may be the weak link. New reports suggest body cam footage shows Ted considering giving up information, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the rap community. Fans and insiders alike are speculating about what he might have said, especially since Ted, who was arrested on unrelated gun charges, allegedly offered to inform on others once in custody. For prosecutors, that could be the opening they've been waiting for. And for Durk, it could be the most dangerous twist yet in an already volatile case. As soon as Ted was booked into jail, the tension was obvious. In a shaky voice, he pleaded with officers, "Please, I swear to God, I'll do anything. Just get me out of here." The body cam footage shows him panicking, barely able to form sentences as the officer repeatedly tells him to calm down. "Relax, man. We'll see what we can do," the officer says, trying to steady him. What no one knew at that moment was how deeply this clip would shake Durk's entire circle. Because the official paperwork listed D's last name, everyone initially assumed he was the one cooperating with law enforcement. But the truth turned out to be far different. It wasn't D, it was his younger brother, Ted. That mix-up created chaos inside Durk's camp. And just as that revelation began to settle, another name emerged: Vonnie. Vonnie, a longtime associate within Durk's crew, became a new focus when his federal record suddenly changed. He was no longer of prison's database, suggesting he had been released or moved to house arrest. Soon after, leaked text messages exposed his plans to take a plea deal. In one of them, Vonnie wrote that he was considering pleading out to a 32, explaining in detail how the sentencing points could drop his time to 5 to 7 years if he cooperated. "I can't go to trial," he told his friend. "I don't want them to do me like they did the others." His reference to the others was reportedly aimed at another former associate, Jam, who faced a harsh sentence after refusing to cooperate. When word spread that Vonnie might be turning informant, even his own father was stunned. Not relieved, but disappointed. For Durk's team, the realization hit hard. The walls were closing in, and every new revelation was coming from someone who once stood beside them. The situation took an even darker turn when Vonnie's father publicly accused his own son of being tied to King Von's death and claimed Durk knew about it all along. During an explosive interview with DJ Academics, he stated, "It was a backdoor move, and I've got the receipts to prove it." According to him, a coded exchange took place between Durk and Vonnie around the time of the incident. Durk allegedly asked, "Is it open?" To which Vonnie replied, "It's off the hinges." Those words, The father insisted, were not random. They were confirmation that the plan had been carried out. When academics pressed him for clarity, asking if he truly meant King Von, the father doubled down, saying that the money trail and the timing all lined up. He claimed to have access to bank records and statements from insiders willing to testify that a payment was made to Lil Tim around that same period. The father argued that this financial evidence provided both motive and opportunity, pointing out that Durk and Von were jointly facing legal trouble at the time. While the theory sounds far-fetched to some, it struck a nerve within the hip-hop community, raising unsettling questions about loyalty, betrayal, and whether one of rap's closest partnerships was built on something far more sinister than music. The trial that once tied Durk and King Von together never saw a courtroom ending. It quietly dissolved into a private settlement after Von's passing, sparking a wave of speculation. Many fans began to suspect that Durk might have struck a behind-the-scenes deal with federal investigators, shifting blame onto Von to protect himself. With Von gone, it seemed Durk had been handed what some called a get-out-of-jail-free card. The question then became, why would Durk want Von out of the picture? Industry insiders hinted at tension beneath the surface. Von's rapid rise and independence were said to unsettle Durk, especially since Von wasn't bound to him by contract. How can you bring someone into the game just to watch them surpass you? One commentator put it. That jealousy theory gained traction when old interviews resurfaced showing Durk exaggerating Von's legal support, claiming he had top-tier lawyers when in reality, Von had a public defender. Fans began piecing together more patterns. How Durk often appeared on Instagram Live following major deaths linked to his circle, from King Von to FBG Duck, leading to whispers that his live streams served as public alibis. Meanwhile, Vonnie's father added more fuel to the fire, alleging that Durk not only played a role in Von's death, but also orchestrated Lil Pab's. He even claimed Durk ignored his warnings, calling the arrests and chaos part of their own plan. Despite the avalanche of accusations, Durk's legal team made a bold move, filing new paperwork that could open a path toward his release, a small flicker of hope in what has become one of hip-hop's darkest sagas of loyalty, power, and betrayal. In a bold legal move, Durk's defense team has filed a motion to dismiss the new charges, arguing that the second superseding indictment is too vague to stand. If the court refuses, they're demanding a bill of particulars, a detailed breakdown of the coded terms allegedly used, the supposed bounty's amount, and the exact date, time, and context of the alleged offer. Essentially, Durk's lawyers are challenging prosecutors to produce concrete proof that Durk ever placed a bounty on Quando Rondo. They're asking for evidence of what the offer was, when it happened, and how it was communicated. In most cases, such information would already be on record, so their refusal to disclose it has Durk's team convinced the prosecution might be bluffing. However, just as the legal tide seemed to turn in his favor, Durk's situation took a darker turn. He was suddenly placed in solitary confinement after jail officers claimed to have found a cell phone in his cell, a charge his associates call false and retaliatory. They allege officials are using the situation to make an example of Durk, possibly due to his influence and high-profile status. Yet others believe isolation could be a safety measure after reports surfaced of an altercation inside the facility earlier that morning. The news sent shockwaves through the hip-hop world, prompting Lil Baby to tweet, "I don't care about nothing else but Durk right now. Free the bro." The timing grew even more suspicious when reports confirmed that one of Durk's close friends, Glee, had passed away around the same time he was placed in solitary. Now, fans and insiders alike are questioning whether Durk's camp is being systematically targeted, and if someone out there is looking for revenge. Fans were quick to notice a strange coincidence. Both Quando Rondo and Lil Tim dropped interviews on the very same day Durk was reportedly targeted. Considering Durk is currently facing charges related to the death of Quando's close friend Lil Pab, many found their timing and tone suspicious. Instead of expressing hostility, both men appeared unusually calm, almost sympathetic. In his interview, Lil Tim insisted, "I was just protecting my little brother," before reflecting, "When I found out it was Von, I was like, damn, if bro hadn't done that dumb stuff last night, he'd still be here. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody's mama or chase clout. I'm a humble person. But if they hadn't started it, none of that would have happened. Quando echoed a similar sentiment, saying he wished things had gone another way. Everybody on my side got people who love them. This whole situation is stupid. It could have been handled differently, through music, through money, through something positive. On the surface, their words sounded like an attempt to make peace. But many fans weren't convinced. To them, the sudden humility felt like a carefully crafted performance, an act meant to appear remorseful in public while potentially masking something far more calculated behind closed doors. Some even speculated that their peace talks might be a smokescreen, hiding a quiet move for revenge against Durk. As Durk sat in solitary confinement, his legal team pushed for his third attempt at bond, this time with an offer so compelling that even skeptics believed the judge might finally approve it. Durk's father spoke after the hearing, expressing cautious optimism. "I just left the courtroom for my son's bond hearing. Third time now." The judge was fair, didn't lean toward the defense or prosecution, just focused on the facts. "He'll give his decision in the coming days. We're hopeful, and we ask everyone to keep us in their prayers. God willing, we'll get a ruling in our favor." Inside the courtroom, things took an unexpected turn when Durk's attorneys managed to convince prosecutors to drop certain pieces of evidence. Reporters noted that the prosecution willingly discarded some of their material, ironically reading the evidence out loud before officially withdrawing it. Among the items removed were Durk's lyrics that prosecutors once claimed referenced violent incidents, particularly the line, "Told me they got in Target. Cameras captured the aftermath." Though officially stricken from the record, those words lingered in the courtroom, leaving a lasting impact on everyone who heard them. Still, the defense's maneuver strengthened Durk's position for bond. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, Charleston White's reaction made headlines of its own, celebrating Durk's possible life sentence with no sign of sympathy, further fueling the controversy surrounding one of hip-hop's most turbulent legal sagas. One legal expert weighed in on Durk's situation, suggesting that the prosecutors backing away from certain allegations could signal a major turning point. According to him, the fact that the feds have dropped key claims, especially the one alleging Durk paid a bounty through a co-defendant, is huge. It shows the case is weakening. Initially, they were confident they could prove he funneled money through another person, but now it's clear they don't have the evidence to back that up. Even Durk's own attorney, Drew Finling, echoed that sentiment, calling the entire case a joke. He explained that Durk wasn't named in the original indictment. It listed other individuals, referring to an unindicted person who, just weeks later, was revealed to be Durk in what's called the first superseding indictment. Finling emphasized that the only new detail in that updated filing was an allegation that Durk had released a music video, celebrating and profiting from the incident in question. When DJ academics pressed him on whether Durk would consider a plea deal to cut down his sentence, Finling made it clear that Durk's defense believes the government's case is crumbling and that they're ready to fight it head-on rather than concede to a deal built on weak evidence. Durk's legal team has made it clear they're not interested in cutting deals or compromising. When asked about the possibility of a plea bargain, his attorney firmly stated that this case isn't one where middle ground exists. "This is an all-or-nothing situation," he explained. "It's either guilty or innocent, and Durk is innocent. He didn't participate in any conspiracy, so there's no alternative but to fight." Another lawyer analyzing the case agreed that Durk's defense has a strong foundation, particularly under the First Amendment. He pointed out that much of the prosecution's case seems to rely on Durk's lyrics, which, according to him, should be protected as free speech. "Artists in every genre, country, rock, R&B, talk about dark or violent themes," he said. "But when it comes to hip-hop, suddenly the words are treated as confessions. That's not justice." Durk's attorneys are expected to argue that his lyrics and imagery are purely creative expressions, not evidence of real crimes. Still, despite their efforts, the judge denied Durk's latest bond request. Reports indicate that prosecutors insisted the only way he could qualify for release would be to surrender his wealth and assets, claiming they fear he could use his money to influence or endanger witnesses. For now, Durk remains behind bars, with limited options, but an unwavering stance that he'll fight to clear his name. Durk now finds himself in federal court facing a murder-for-hire charge, a case so severe that federal law automatically assumes no bond will be granted. In situations like this, it's up to the defense to prove why a defendant should be released, but that argument didn't convince the judge. Despite millions being offered as bond, much of it reportedly came from Durk's label, not from his own accounts. The judge expressed concern that Durk still had substantial assets elsewhere, suggesting that if he were released, he'd have both the means and the motive to flee. Federal agents went even further, alleging that Durk poses a danger to potential witnesses, fearing he might order new attacks from outside. Their suspicions stem largely from the disappearance of a man known as Jam, a former associate turned informant. Jam, once loyal, allegedly provided authorities with more than 230 gigabytes of evidence, including audio recordings, surveillance footage, and thousands of pages of reports linking Durk to multiple violent incidents. Among the claims are that Durk ordered hits on two individuals, one being Stefan Mack, connected to the death of Durk's brother D-Tang, and the other being Jam's own ex, who reportedly died after Durk discovered Jam was wired. In one viral Instagram Live clip, Durk was even seen eyeing Jam suspiciously, appearing to notice the recording device tucked beneath his jacket. Not long after, Jam vanished, later said to have been tracked down in Atlanta by affiliates seeking revenge. To some observers, it looks like Durk has been anticipating every move, playing what they describe as 3D chess with both his enemies and the law. But with federal prosecutors tightening their case and witnesses disappearing, the stakes couldn't be higher. Durk later admitted he saw Jam's betrayal coming long before anyone else did. "I can tell in 5 seconds if somebody's cooperating," he said, claiming he recognized the signs from a mile away. That experience hardened him, so much so that he no longer lets even his closest friends know where he lives. "Not even my best friends ever been to my house," Durk explained. "I don't let people around my girl or my kids. I'm not the type to host family nights. Everybody gets watched, and if someone moves too close to my kids, we handle it." His paranoia wasn't without reason. Jam, the same man Durk once gifted $50,000 to on Instagram Live, turned out to be the informant. That stream, once seen as Durk flexing his success, now looks like a moment heavy with irony. The man he was showering with cash was secretly preparing to turn on him. In that same video, the feds reportedly identified several individuals in the background who they now believe were involved in the murder of Lil Pab, Quando Rondo's friend. Investigators also linked those men to King Von's old circle, suggesting Lil Pab's death may have been retaliation for Von's killing. The case deepened when prosecutors discovered an Instagram post from Durk captioned for D-Tang, uploaded just 30 minutes after Stefan Mack's death, D-Tang being Durk's brother. To them, it looked less like coincidence and more like a coded message. Durk's demeanor the following day, when he went live and laughed about Slap Thin Khan, only fueled speculation. To the feds, each post, each live stream, and each offhand remark now paints a broader narrative, one where revenge, loyalty, and betrayal all collide under the unblinking eye of federal surveillance.